Hello and welcome back to Crumpets Movie Review. I'm Megan Kerwin and this is my friend Michaela James, and today we're going to be talking about the new movie Maleficent.
Maleficent is the story, it's kind of the untold story of the iconic villain from the classic 1959 Disney's Sleeping Beauty.
Now first we're going to give you the skinny on the movie, which means we'll just tell you a little bit about it in case you're wondering if you'd like to see it or not.
We won't tell you too much because if you haven't seen it, we're not going to give anything away, but just if you're kind of on the fence, you're thinking of taking maybe a young child, should you, shouldn't you? The rating is a PG action, so that tells you yes, there is action, it's not a G, it's not totally fine for the really young children. What would you say the violence, on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you put the violence, Megan?
Ooh, I would probably put it close to a 3 for a kids movie. There are a few battle scenes and a few fight scenes. I can say that I know if I were a child, some of the, there are these characters that look like trees that guard Maleficent. They would scare me if I was like
for your young children, I would seriously think about it because the violence, and there's a battle scene because it's sort of the humans against the fairies, and there's a battle scene and it's a serious battle scene. So yeah, PG action, no bad language, no sex, no nudity obviously, but definitely some violence. I wouldn't take very young children to this movie.
I'd aim for like the youngest kids maybe being around 8.
Yes, I
7
agree.
Or 8 maybe.
7 or 8, I think would be my limit, yes. As far as are you going to enjoy it, I say absolutely. What about you, Meg?
I say absolutely as well. I thought it was very well done. It kind of reminds me, if anyone is familiar with the famous Broadway play Wicked, which is the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz film and book. It kind of reminds me of that. It's the story that no one knows, which kind of paints this character not necessarily in a worse or better light, but just different, and it's very entertaining for kids and adults.
The, I believe, always amazing Angelina Jolie plays Maleficent, and I think you agree with me, Megan, she was incredible.
She was brilliant. She perfectly fits that character.
She does. She was stunning to watch. You can't take your eyes off her.
Oh yeah, she's visually captivating.
Yes, she made the movie from every little eye movement to her sense of humor, to, as you say, her laugh.
Oh yeah.
Her body language, she was it.
Perfect.
She was it. So they cast her beautifully. The CG I thought was well done.
Yeah, I thought it was
3D.
very fitting for the fairy tale type of movie that it was. We saw it in 3D, which I'm kind of averse to sometimes, but I didn't mind it this time because it was
a true
supposed
3D.
to be 3D.
Yes. And so, yeah, visually, I think your children will love it. It is a shame about the violence that you can't take the really little ones because visually they would so enjoy it.
So beautiful. A lot of the characters in the land that Maleficent lives in, called the Moors, all the little fairy creatures and the animals. And
beautiful.
They're all amazing looking and so much fun.
If you have really little ones, I would suggest waiting until it comes out on DVD, Meg.
Oh yeah.
And just fast forward through the violent parts because there's a lot of it that isn't violent. So, yeah, but yeah, as we said, it is a PG action. So we're thinking 7, 8 up. You'd be fine with, but younger than that, we would not recommend.
Caution. If you think that your kid would enjoy that, maybe you go see it first. Because I know some little kids aren't bothered by that, but I think that's a parent's choice that they have to make.
So as far as all the actors, how did we feel about the acting?
I thought, overall, it was really well cast. I thought the character who plays the king of
King Stefan?
the kingdom, played by the South African actor Charlton Copley.
Yes, from District 9 and
Elysium.
Yes,
he was brilliant. All of the characters in that part of the kingdom spoke with a Scottish accent, which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
And Michaela, your father is Scottish. What did you think of his Scottish accent?
It wasn't horrendous. It wasn't a great accent. I think it must be hard for a South African to have a Scottish accent. So it wasn't great, but not terrible either. And his acting overall I thought was very good. So I enjoyed him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he portrayed the part very well.
And then, of course, Elle Fanning, Dakota Fanning's younger sister, played Aurora, the princess. What did you think about her?
Do you know what's interesting is she's actually 16 in real life.
Yeah.
And 16 is such a big number in Sleeping Beauty, isn't it? She wasn't my favourite, but we'll get into that when we dissect. But she was fine. I mean, she was fine. Overall, I think the movie was great. I think you'll enjoy watching it in 3D. I think you'll enjoy the computer graphics. You'll love Angelina Jolie, and I think you'll just thoroughly enjoy this movie. So, Crumpets, how many? How many are we going to give it out of 5?
I think I'm going to give it 4 out of 5.
I have to agree. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 for both the adults and the children.
Now we're going to go into our section of our review called the dissection. It's kind of like our book club for movies section where we talk a little more in depth about the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, please stop watching now. But if you have, you're welcome to join us.
Because we do have spoilers. Now, the director, Robert Stromberg, he's been more of a visual artist in many, many movies. And then 2 years ago, Disney approached him and said, "Do you want to direct this movie?" So this is his debut, and I thought he did very well.
I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, the direction was very good in this movie.
Mm-hmm. He started out in 1987 as a matte painter, and like many directors, just worked his way up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was impressed.
And I think you can really see that side.
Oh,
of
the visual side?
The visuals
yes.
in this movie are beautiful.
They are stunning. They are stunning. So, yeah, so we were impressed with the director. Now, let's get into dissecting our actors, where we both agree that Angelina Jolie was flawless.
She was
I
brilliant.
have 0 complaints. Loved her. Loved her. And as far as the actor, the South African actor, who's a producer actor, that played King Stefan, I thought he portrayed him really well. His accent wasn't perfect, but good enough.
Yeah, for a fairy tale,
yes.
it was over the top enough, but not too terrible.
Right. So the Scots were the baddies in this movie.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Crow, who was played by a British actor? What's his name?
Sam Riley, I believe is his
Yes.
name. Yeah, he played sort of Maleficent's sidekick. He's a
her
crow.
conscience.
And her conscience, yeah. And at this point, she calls him her wings too.
Yes.
And she can turn him into basically any animal that she wants.
But he's not always pleased about it.
He's kind of upset. There's a part where, by the way, his name is in the movie is Diaval. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the original.
He has an Irish accent in the movie, so we've got Scots, we've got Irish, we've got everybody.
And Maleficent has a British accent,
yes.
so it's kind of all spread out. And
I thought he was great.
He was very, very fun.
Yes, he was great. He was such a likable character. And his voice was lovely, and again, like Angelina Jolie, just his facial expressions were so good. The actors were really good in this movie.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. It seems like they all took the time to really dissect their characters and really flesh them out and had them fully developed throughout the entire movie. It wasn't nobody was stagnant. Everybody changed in some way.
I agree. They were all on a journey. Yes. Now, I did have an issue with Princess Aurora. I wasn't... She's fine. As you said, she's Dakota Fanning's younger sister. She's 16, so she's very young. She was given the gifts from the fairies in the beginning, and she got beauty and she got happiness.
Yeah.
And that she had, but I just wish that the third fairy had been able to give her wish.
Gift.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I would have liked good sense. She just came across... She came across as just a little bit of an airhead, a little bit dim-witted. Maybe I'm being a little harsh.
I actually kind of liked the difference between this Sleeping Beauty and the original cartoon Sleeping Beauty. Not that I didn't enjoy that movie as a child, but I thought more, I didn't quite see her as being an airhead per se, but I thought she was more willing and outgoing.
And I know what you're saying, Meg. She was sort of maybe younger and less affected. The 1959, she was more poised.
sort
of 16 going on 30.
And this one isn't afraid to go out and experience things. There's a scene where she's playing with some of the little magical forest creatures, and they're having a mud fight. Like, I would never have expected the Sleeping Beauty from the cartoon to even get a little bit of dirt on her dress. And this one was rolling around in the mud.
Now, talking of the 1959 movie, there have been very mixed reviews for this movie. And to me, it's not a remake of Sleeping Beauty. It is, as we said, it's a backstory. It's an untold story. So I think a lot of the comparisons are unfair because it's its own movie.
It's a completely separate story.
Yes, yes, and I for one, I thought it was good. Now, when we talk about little things that irritate us, the fairies, I got a little irritated with the constant throwing things at each other, who did that. That I thought was a little overdone. I thought that could have been a little less, and it was slightly funny the first time, not at all the second and the third. And also, she's turning 16, and if you know the original Sleeping Beauty, that's the day that she's going to prick her finger on the spinning wheel. So are they watching her? No, off she goes on a horse. Nobody knows where Aurora is. That irritated me a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And of course the king gets upset that you did this to her when she finally does prick her finger, that it's all the fairies' fault because they were supposed to be watching her until the day after she turned 16, then she could return to the kingdom. But no, she comes the day before, and of course her curse is fulfilled, and everybody knows what happens.
And, you know, at such a strong cast, we felt the fairies, not so much for me. I was a little less impressed with the fairies.
The actors who played them, they were very diverse. Leslie Manville and Juno Temple, I believe, all great British actors. But it was just, they didn't quite hit the right note for me.
They didn't. Prince Philip is an up-and-coming Australian actor. He's been on the very famous Home and Away soap that all Australian actors seem to start on. And I used to watch that when I was young. It's been going forever. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of him.
He does seem like he's very charismatic young man.
Oh yeah, I thought he was prettier than Aurora myself. Yes, he could have played Princess Aurora quite easily. But yeah, he fit the part very well. Was just, you know, it was just a great group of actors. And you know what I loved about this movie, Megan, is when you think about the 1959 version, and if we're giving spoilers, and it takes that prince to wake her. Love's true kiss, true love's kiss, true love's kiss. So I can't tell you how much I loved this, that this pretty boy she met in the forest, she doesn't know him. Yes, she's very attracted to him as he was to her.
Right.
But did his kiss work?
Nope.
No.
He did kiss her.
He did.
But
and whose kiss did?
Maleficent, actually.
Yes.
Was the one who saved her because
she truly loved her.
She fell in love with this girl. Even Aurora in the movie calls her fairy godmother, that she's been watching over her whole life. And eventually Maleficent gets to a point where she realizes she loves her and she tries to take the curse back, but she made it too powerful that she couldn't do it.
Yes.
And it was her kiss on her forehead saying that she was sorry and she would always protect her even until she was no longer alive.
And it was the love, it was like the love of a parent, which is unbelievably strong, and I think it sends such a good message, and it was done in Frozen also, which was impressive.
Exactly.
It sends such a good message to young people that love isn't just that boy in your math class. Love is so much
pretty
stronger.
Girl that you ran into in the forest.
It's much deeper than that, and it's that. That was a lovely moment for me.
Yeah,
that was special. Yes. So, so Maleficent, here you are, you've seen her as this awful person in the classic Sleeping Beauty, but here you learn why. She had a beautiful heart and she was hurt beyond belief. She was let down by
someone she loved and who she thought loved her.
A boy that walked into our forest, they became friends. And she thought that he loved her, and then his greed, his hunger for power and to be king of all the humans drove him to to, well, cut off her wings if we're giving away spoilers here. I hope you haven't seen the movie, because this is the part, that drove him to completely betray her, and that's what turned her into this supposedly evil character, but she wasn't so.
But it's understandable in this story that you can see where all of this immense hatred, as she describes it, comes from. But like I said, all these characters are so well fleshed out, and her journey, I think, is the most incredible of all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You feel what she's feeling, and kudos to Angelina Jolie for making us feel that with every look, and it's like she's holding it all in. I love the scene where she goes to the castle, and she said, I didn't get my invite, and she was just so, it's a fun movie. Don't go in comparing it to the 1959.
No. You can keep that story in your mind.
Yes, savor that for what it was, and then take this for what it is I think what we did, Megan. And I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. And tune in for our next review, which is The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise.